Patrick Mahomes was good. Nate's back in the United States, somewhere with background music. Welcome to Only Weird Games. Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, and Nate Taylor of ESPN. I'm officially checking that one off the year-long bingo card. I don't know if anything on the field on Friday night tipped off the bingo card one way or another, but not a lot went in the fun favor of the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, on that breaking news, to anybody tuning in for this show, you are well aware the Chiefs are 0-1 alone at the bottom of the AFC West, and kind of an uncomfy place to be, and not a very fun process that sent them there. But Nate, frankly, we're all just glad to see you in we're gonna call it 720p HD at least, and
yes.
Presumably back on American soil. So welcome back, Nate. Glad to have you.
Yeah, back on American soil. It's great. I missed the entire Kansas-Missouri game because I was trying to recover while on the plane. Stephen, Nate looks like he got a good tan in Brazil. You could say that. I got a lot of good things. We will get to Brazil, towards the end of the episode, and I do want to, do a granular and very micro story for you guys. But we've talked about this before, with Tucker included. Just the idea of this game being on a Friday night, and then our show coming back Tuesday, and how odd that is, especially after we've cleaned ourselves up, me and Josh specifically, after, guys, I got off a plane and then off another plane and drove home. Thankfully got to sleep in my own bed, and then me and Josh snorted so much cocaine on Sunday that it's amazing what the body can do when it's put in adverse circumstances. And to know that so many other people were getting, just absolutely blitzed in their mind, in their bodies, and in their souls. Wow. Did the Colts score again? Again. Like, is Daniel Jones good? Am I high?
No. Enough of you, Nate. Back to Seth. Sorry. If you ask on the show if Daniel Jones is good, I take your talking stick. I don't know. It's actually a rule I put in place years ago. That's the first time I've ever had to use it.
I was snorting cocaine, Josh. I hadn't done that in 6 months, man.
I'm going to go ahead and say that's an official cross-off for Nate Snorts Cocaine live on air. No, wait, that's Red Zone. We didn't get the sound effect, but I feel like you talked about cocaine enough. That's probably a winner.
Coming off of Brazil, that's the point. It's like, not only have I not been in, not only have I not, practiced or participated in recreational drugs in 6 months, but to do it after having so much meat. Guys, all they eat is meat. And I'm saying that in both a nice generality and a reality. So, look, they lost. It happens. Seth, I don't know if your Friday night was bad. My Friday night was mostly, interesting because it didn't end until 2 a.m. Because that's how late the game started. Basically, like 9:20. It's a hilarious exercise in Sao Paulo. But yeah, I'm sure we're gonna get into all the reasons why they lost. But I remember leaving Corinthians Arena again at 2:30 because that's when the NFL shuttled us back across the city. At 2:30, I remember leaving the stadium and kind of just like smiling and just being like, "This is good. This is honestly good for them." And they needed this. They really needed a night quite like this for all the reasons we're going to get into.
That's interesting, Seth, because I would argue that the Chiefs had a night like this the last time they played a meaningful football game. And we heard quite a bit. I'm going to go ahead and just lead us into one of the post-game topics. It's not even necessarily one of the specific ones we're going to get into today, but I don't think we can talk about this game until we mention the thing that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones all agreed on at the podium in Sao Paulo. Everybody agreed and said it in different words, but they came out flat. The energy level wasn't there for whatever reason. And I gotta say, and I guess, Seth, I'm kicking it to you here first because Nate just set the scene for us. And I don't know, maybe Nate will have a story from the locker room or something. But this whole week was like, hey, we're going to this big international game and we play games every day of the week in all these different locations. So we're prepared for it. Obviously, the Chargers had to make the same trip and play at the same time. But the Chiefs just had an embarrassing loss in February. Let's get out there and make a new international impression to start off this new season. Obviously, there are specifics that went into play here, but I just had I hadn't even considered the idea that the Chiefs would come out so tepid out of the gate that would be the self-diagnosis from the head coach, quarterback, and star of the defense after the game. That really caught me off guard.
And I don't know if I didn't see any follow-up questions that circled around this. I don't know if they referenced Worthy getting hurt so quickly as maybe part of what kind of messed with everything.
Patrick wanted to say it, but he knew as the leader he couldn't say it. That's okay. My interpretation, because I was the one who did circle back and ask him how much of the game plan changed, how much of what you guys are saying, and this was before we talked to Chris, but how much of what you and Andy are saying is tied into the fact that, dog, not again, not after the third play, not again.
Yeah. Well, no, this again kind of thing. And I don't think the original plan was to have Hollywood Brown have, I think it was 10 catches on multiple targets. And that's with him having a couple that he should have caught that I know we can talk about. Brown, Josh, we were texting like in the group chat. We were kind of texting like with Brown. He looked like a guy that really was coming in a little rusty again because he'd been hurt. That early drop was killer. And it's such a good example of how momentum builds in the NFL, especially against good defenses. You get a drop, and then the next drive, by the way, that almost pick by Mahomes on the very next drive, I think it was on second down, I want to say. That's not on Mahomes. Brown stumbled. It's a back shoulder look based on the leverage of the corner. He did it right. He stumbled a little bit, just a little, and it stopped him from coming back. His body should have been there, and that should have been a 10-yard gain in the first down. Instead, it wasn't. Chiefs punted 2 plays later. Those are things you always look at third down, but what happens on second down matters too. So in terms of coming out flat, I would just say that's concerning to me because of everything going on, all the circumstances, all you're talking about. Now we're going to get back to having fun this year. They called the offense differently in the first half, and in the second half, they made some adjustments. They were still taking a few shot plays, by the way. They were still looking to open up that. So that's nice to see. They definitely had an intention to throw deep. The line overall held up well enough to do it. Those are encouraging things. In terms of coming out flat, honestly, if you're coming out flat in the season opener in Brazil, and I guess to me, there's not really an excuse for that. There's not really the team leaders saying it make me wonder what might have gotten said behind closed doors. But if you're Andy Reid, I would be thinking about doing something drastic. Oh, Seth, one game in the season? Yeah, you come out that flat against a team that was beatable, and the Chargers played well. Hats off to them. They came out with a game plan that I don't think the Chiefs were particularly prepared for. It was really well scouted on the Chargers offensive side of the ball. That under center play action stuff, like the Kubiak style type stuff, that has been Spag's kryptonite for years. The number of times I have seen tight ends or fullbacks running wide open in the flat after a play action fake and boot is dozens and dozens and dozens of times.
Hey, Shamari Connor, it's year 3.
Yeah,
you've seen a bootleg, right? You know the tight end can cross your face.
Yeah, you gotta have more of this. I would just say that to me it's not as concerning as anything else. The Chiefs have shown they can do this time and again. It is just so interesting to hear that in week 1. And again, maybe it really was oh my gosh, it's happening again. We had all these plans for Worthy. That dude was going to get 15 targets. You guys don't even know. I can see why that would affect the offense. And with the offense, after those first 3 drives, I mean, they only had 3 drives in the second half, and they went touchdown, field goal. I mean, the offense picked it up and moved the ball pretty well. The defense, I don't really know what to tell you. I mean, that was they got soundly outcoached. They looked slow. Now, part of that, if you get outcoached, it makes you look slower than you are. They do have some speed on defense. The pass rush, looking how it did, was really concerning. So there's a lot there, and I was just starting on the first thing, trying to keep the first thing. Yeah. To me, if I'm Andy Reid and I see that lack of energy, I would be at least willing to consider, well, maybe I need to do something drastic.
Now, shout out to JH, who I'm sure you're seeing this, Josh.
I'm not.
Excuse me.
I'm not in the public chat.
Yes, just JH. Carter and Desarius on the line next week. For Tom, who asked a great point, Tom Lesser asked a great question. Hey, Nate, anybody asked Andy about the mysterious and late arrival coming out of halftime? Andy was all about having his team take their time coming out of the tunnel, which thankfully YouTube did show, and going to the sideline. Now, it was asked, I think both after the game and even yesterday, and Andy, because he's a jiu-jitsu master and a Jedi master, basically said, no. Well, you have to remember, guys, this was the Super Bowl of South America, so we just got the timing wrong as to when we were supposed to come out based on, Karol G doing those hip moves. So look, man, we were told a different time to come out. Okay. You've been a coach going on 27 years now. Okay. Andy Reid stopped his players and looked them dead in their eyes. And if you don't think that wasn't intentional, buddy, you can say something, but your actions say something also. And I think Tom asking that and then me telling you, me interpreting that, even though Andy Reid says, hey, we didn't know exactly when we were supposed to come out, even though the Chargers were out on the field. The Chargers were like stretching. And I remember me and Sam McDowell and Jesse Newell were like, where are they? Like it's just Harrison Butker and Matt Arisa. Where are the Chiefs? And so I think the reason Andy did that is because of everything Seth said. Like, you cannot – against a divisional opponent, when there's been this much build-up, this much hype, like you cannot come out playing like the way they played and having the level of mistakes that they had. So I hope that answers your question, Tom. I believe it was very deliberate, and it's the most he can do beyond scream at them in the locker room, which I'm sure probably happened. But Andy took his time, and even though he knew his team was late, took his time and said, you know what? No, make them wait even longer. Let me look at these dudes one more time to understand just how disappointed I was in the first half. And then, like a good coach, put it all on himself after the game as to why he felt his team was not prepared from an energy standpoint, from a focus standpoint, and mostly, and this has got to hurt Andy kind of to his core, we're going to get into all the details, and that's the problem, guys, as to why they lost. Their attention to detail was abysmal for the first game of the season based on all the things we talked about, based on all the things they said entering this game.
And it got
we'll burn
Xavier
one of our
time.
Yes,
Go ahead, Seth.
yes.
Go ahead and say it.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Josh. And it got Xavier Worthy injured.
Correct.
Yeah. You know, a collision between teammates, and who amongst us hasn't done that in the last 5 seconds? So I don't know who's who in that analogy. I think the analogy falls apart immediately, but we're going to burn a timeout after I tell you, Chiefs fans, you could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pregame coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes, Enter for a chance to win at chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll take a break, come back, and let's get to the defensive woes because there are plenty to pick from.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
What's up, guys? I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network, and I'm here to talk to Kansas City businesses. If you rely on technology, you need an IT support team that's not just another vendor, but a true IT partner. That's why I want to introduce you to my friend and neighbor, KJ Miller. He is a VCIO at ThrottleNet, the Midwest's highest rated and most reviewed IT support company. They've been in business for more than 25 years, helping companies stay secure, productive, and ahead of the curve. They aren't just IT support, but they provide data security, IT strategy, and cloud software services. They do it all, and their reviews show they do it better than anyone else. So if you want to hear about how ThrottleNet can help your local business, join the conversation with myself, KJ Miller from ThrottleNet, and our resident genius from KC Sports Network when it comes to IT, at least as he's affectionately known by us, Mr. Craig Stout. Click the link in the description to hear how ThrottleNet can help you.
Usually a stat isn't an easy summary of how a game actually went, but I did find one thing over in the RBSDM.com advanced box score. The Los Angeles Chargers on third and fourth down plays had an 86% success rate. That's 12 out of 14. 90%, 9 out of 10 on late down pass plays. If it felt like to you that the Chiefs simply could not get off the field on third and fourth down, that's what happened. That's correct. Seth, I'll let you pick between the two, although I did consider just taking a page out of your book. I'm not going to read one of your stories. I'm going to read one of your subheads because you wrote in the Chief of the North newsletter, how bad are the things that went bad for the Chiefs? What am I losing sleep over? And you lulled us in with a nice casual one by saying, problem, the pass rush looks anemic. Sleeplessness factor, I might as well have binged meth. I would suggest to our audience to not follow suit. The cocaine of red zone is one thing. The meth of the Chiefs' pass rush on Friday night, not nearly as fun. Whew. Why is that the one that leads the way for you in terms of legitimate concern, both the problems on Friday and going forward?
I want my teeth to be intact, Seth.
Because that's the thing that isn't long-term sustainably fixable if guys just don't play better. That's the one. Like, there's other things that worry me. Like, if the safeties don't play better, there's a few free agent safeties out there that they can get that'll keep assignments, even if they're not as fast as they'd like or whatever. That's
Tyrann
fixable.
Matthews banging the drum on Sunday. I mean,
yeah. There's things that they can do to help, or they can just, as Christian Fulton continues to get healthier, he had some decent snaps out there. He looked physical. He needs
every rep at practice this week.
Well,
every single one.
If you've got multiple guys that are repeatedly getting assignments wrong, and Jaden Hicks did too. I mean, he really struggled. Their communication back there was bad. Stop playing three safeties then. Like, there are solutions to that. Now, I don't know if Spags will take advantage of it. Spags is one of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time. Can be a little set in his ways. We'll see. He gives his guys a chance to improve. But I trust Spags and Dave Merritt to overall do what it takes. And there are some things because of the personnel they have at corner that are fixable there. The pass rush, everyone wants to focus on Chris Jones, and I understand why. He's the biggest paid guy by far. He had a rough rep on the final snap of the game. Now, you could see him talking it through afterwards. He took responsibility for it. Oh, go ahead.
Can I ask you a question? Was that the quickest one-on-one win you saw all night?
Easily. And it's not even close, other than a couple other by Jones. And that's the other thing. If you're going to isolate Chris Jones against one of their worst pass protectors, why would you call man with no spy behind it? Why wouldn't you loop Mike Dana, who based on what you've seen all night, is not going to win his block? Loop him around on a
Can
stunt.
I say something that will just diffuse this? That'll hopefully make our lives easier for the next 40 minutes. Chris Jones's responsibility on that play was obviously to have contain, and he didn't keep contain because he went inside to try to make a play. It's crazy that Chris Jones's responsibility on that play was to keep contain on 3rd and 14 as the only guy who we can both of these things are true. Chris Jones screwed up. He did the wrong thing and did not do his job and his responsibility on that play. We all saw it. He said it after the fact. Also, Chris Jones, it was the only chance they had all night on doing anything for Justin Herbert. I want to hand it back to you, Seth. I've seen how this discourse has already gotten away from us on socials.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, maybe they could drop him into coverage next time. I don't know. I mean, there's all sorts of ways that you could use. I mean, maybe they could just, have Trent McDuffie, rush from the edge. I don't. And look, Spags is a genius. Spags is incredible. No dynasty without Spags. But that, Chris Jones freelances, and Jones, you could see when he was talking about afterwards, he took responsibility for it, but you could see him saying he took, it was a version of, he took a really aggressive outside set. If Chris Jones plays contain against that set, he gets no pressure. And you know who else got pressure that play? No one. Everyone was stonewalled completely, which is one reason when I talk about complimentary pass rush, had one other guy, Herbert doesn't have all that space to run into. Yes, it's so important to keep your pass rush lanes intact. How, especially in a game where the Chargers multiple times did the same things they did last year, where they would have their edge rushers come inside, and then they'd have a defensive tackle or a linebacker or even an edge once loop all the way around to go right to the place the quarterback tries to win. Sorry, I'm so upset it makes me cough. There's a methodology to this, and instead you neutered your best chance. How many games has Chris Jones closed out over the course of his career with the Chiefs? 15, 20?
Yeah, it's in the double digits.
It's an incredible number of games. I mean, did you hear anyone go back and look at the final sack of Joe Burrow in the AFC Championship a couple years ago? I don't know if he was supposed to win around the edge there, but you know what he did? He won around.
He called his shot and made Carlos Dunlap slide inside.
Yes, and that's who your players are. And here's the other thing: what makes you think on a night where when you've rushed 4 and played contain, what makes you think you're going to be able to cover down the field? You haven't all night. They would have just hit McConkey on another freaking crosser route. This is not. So this is where I'm frustrated by the fact that. Yes. It's not reflective of, again, Josh, I love that you said it. Chris Jones screwed up. Chris Jones shouldn't have been put in that position. This is the whole two things can be true at the same time. Here's the thing with the pass rush. The Chargers ran a ton of really effective play action looks, and the Chiefs, for a long time under Spags, they don't rush the passer particularly well against play action. Everyone's neutered by it to an extent when it's run well. The Chiefs in particular struggle to convert from defending the run to rushing the passer. And if you just paid a guy $20+ million a year, and I can't think of Karlaftis, I think collected a sack on a play where Herbert had climbed in the pocket.
It's the play where he almost took out Chris Jones's knee. Chris Jones, this isn't even a shot. It's like Chris Jones landed on him because Karlaftis was running back, into active play, basically.
Yes, I remember you saying that, Josh, on everything else yesterday, and then I went back and rewatched it and said, "How are his knees intact?"
Yeah, I was terrified when he went down. I was like, "Oh, the season's over."
No, we were
right.
And so they here's the biggest problem with this is that Karlaftis just has to be better than he was. Omenahu has to be better than he was. Dana has to be better than he was. Gelati didn't get on the field a ton. I actually saw him get a little push on a few of his reps. Get him out there.
Get through Scott Matlock, which I didn't see anybody else do all damn day.
And
I suddenly believe in the fullback again.
And here's where you have the potential dilemma. If you've been able to get pressure before, we've talked about this in years past, then you're relying on heating them up. And eventually good, well-coached teams, and that's first drive out of the second half, Andy's little stuff. I mean, they took him 3 and out. Spags heated him up. McDuffie had brilliant coverage. And then the Chiefs score a touchdown. You're like, okay, things look whatever. But then because on every major passing down, Spags had a choice. Either send extra guys, and Herbert's a smart enough quarterback, and the Chargers are well enough coached that they've got answers for it, or you rush 4 and no one gets home because, man, the number of times Chris Jones had multiple blockers his direction, it was tough. Someone has got to win, and that's the one that keeps me up most because we've seen it previously. We've seen it before. Amenahu was kind of the answer in 2023.
Right.
He wasn't on Friday. We'll see what happens, but that's a big deal. That's the one that if you want this defense to be better than average, and I don't think what we saw Friday is reflective of the defense. I think it'll end up being an average defense, give or take. We'll see, right? Like, I mean, if some of the miscommunication stuff doesn't get fixed. But you can't be better than average if you can't get after the passer with some consistency. And that's one of the things that separated 2024 from 2023. In 2023, the pass rush was a little better when you rushed 4, and the coverage was so good. I don't think you're going to be able to count on that this year. So this is one of those things. That's the one that keeps me up the most. Everything else, like anything related to the offense, honestly, we'll see how they do against the Eagles because the Eagles kind of tailor-made to play the Chiefs, especially with Fangio. But especially since Jalen Carter can spit on a man, and then they'll be like, well, he's suspended, but it's a takesies backsies because he got kicked out of the game too. And so I'm waiting for Rashee Rice's, injured games that he missed to retroactively apply to his suspension because I'm sure that's
I was
what'll
considering
happen.
making that joke, Seth. I think it's a pretty astute one, to be honest.
Yeah.
Never fired that one off.
So the all the stuff with the offense, honestly, and I wrote about this in the Mahomes film review, and I know we'll talk.
Yeah,
about
we're not on the offense yet. We're not there, Seth.
Yeah.
That's later in the show.
That's not keeping me awake the way the defensive stuff is. And with the defensive stuff, it's the pass rush. By far. They don't fix that. Yeah, they'll still probably be a playoff team and probably win a few playoff games. You're not winning the Super Bowl if you can't get after the passer at all.
I'm looking at the dots, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh boy.
And this is just to shiv you even more. It's 3rd and 14 with 2 minutes left. 2:14. Obviously after 2-minute warning. Coming up, guys.
They had him.
The coverage is great. They had him.
Did they?
Yep, they had him. I'm looking at the dots right now. Trip McDuffie is in the slot doing his job. The ball is snapped. I'm looking at the dots. They got him. They got Johnson. Now, one of the reasons why Herbert can't scramble out is because they are doubling Johnston, and so. You got a safety over the top. You got Jalen Watson in trail coverage underneath. It's beautiful. It's one of the few times, guys, the entire game where the coverage is absolutely locked down. Jaden Hicks is playing the robber in the middle of the field. He's just waiting on Johnson to cross. And there he goes, guys.
This is good news, though. In a sense, though, this is good news in that, okay, you fix some of the communication stuff, although, if you're playing man, that makes that communication stuff simpler. So that's fair enough. But I honestly, I was annoyed with Chris Jones, and I tweeted about it after the game because I know I kind of get known as the person who gives Jones a free pass to an extent. I also do think that, I don't know why Jones would assume that he's not the one who needs to make a play.
Correct.
I get it. He should have done his job, but man, that was frustrating.
I think for me, I am by far the most concerned about the pass rush because also it is last year's pass rush, which was also a problem. I mean, you bring in Ashton Gelati and you lose FAU. And Omar Norman-Lott, you hope, shows up at some point. And Mike Pennell's gone and playing quite well for the Bengals. But it's the same group. And it's a group that I remember this time last year being like, man, the Chiefs' defense is kind of underwhelming. Is the secondary just crummy? It's like, well, actually, they haven't gotten pressure with anybody. And then Amenahu's return wasn't full-on celebration. And now he's healthy and wasn't a good enough game against the Chargers for him either, as you mentioned earlier already, Seth. But on the secondary front, the one thing, there are a couple things in this that where I think our common thread, and I think just because we all text, I think we have this right. I think the reason the pass rush and Shamari Connor in the secondary are both kind of red alert concerning is because they're the 18th game of last year's regular season. I mean, it's problems that we saw last year all the way through the Super Bowl. The rest of the coverage stuff is weird. Obviously, Justin Reid's not here anymore. Christian Fulton played 15 snaps in this game, but not very many. Shamari Connor played almost every snap and a ton in the slot. Trent McDuffie was outside for quite a bit. But Jaden Hicks might have had the worst game compared to our expectations, just because we've talked so much about what his role in this defense was going to be. he got caught out of sorts far too often, and you just had like collisions and miscommunications at a clip
Right.
that you're not used to
Right.
seeing from a Spags defense. Nate, I'll let you take the first hack at this one, and then Seth, the same question to you, which is why are you less concerned? I think I'm with you on this. Why though are you less concerned about the secondary in the long haul, or when how much wiggle room are you going to give that unit before it elevates to a higher concern level like the pass rush
Right.
has?
Right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, first two reasons. I've always said that you can't really judge anybody until week 5. Like, give me 4 weeks of real data against a multitude of different, you play 4 different teams. It's not like you're playing a repeat team in the division. Give a unit 4 weeks, and then you really do have a baseline based on personnel, based on opponent, based on styles make fights, based on, hey, you might play your best, might play your worst. Where's the middle? Second thing I would say to give the secondary a chance is they do have Fulton. He will get healthy. He will get in the system more often. He has covered NFL receivers in the past. He has done it at a pretty decent rate. I would say slightly above average. He is a above average tackler in the run game, which is something that the Chiefs really value, especially Steve Spagnuolo. And so, give him a month. Everyone can't run into Trip McDuffie, right? Everyone. Now, Seth, I don't know how many times. I think I counted 3 in the first half where it's like, that's Trent McDuffie's teammate, and he's getting in the way of Trent McDuffie being good in man-to-man coverage. It almost got to the point where it's like, and I mean this both tongue-in-cheek and kind of literal, but it's like, hey, guys, we got on for the Chiefs, I think it was 13 hours. We got on a 13-hour flight, fellas. Did we practice before we got on the flight? Did we practice? Did we practice? We practiced, right? So if they're in a mesh type of looking formation, or if they're in a tight formation where receivers could go in opposite directions, we've practiced that, right? Where we're not gonna run into each other. Right?
Well, one would think there would be evidence of that.
Right. And hey, you know what? Once we get into the red zone, then I'm gonna do my job. Because I'm Steve Spagnuolo. It's September. I don't care. But you know what? They're in the red zone. I kind of care. So you know what, Seth? I'm gonna do what you asked for. I'm gonna put Trent McDuffie across Lad McConkey. He's erased. He's erased from the play. He ain't gonna do shit. Why is he wide open? Why is he wide open?
Right.
It's because Trent McDuffie can't get around his own teammate.
Well, and that's pretty absurd considering the amount of mesh that the Chiefs run.
Yes.
You'd think the defense would be really practiced. Although if the Chiefs have been practicing mesh with the spacing they did with Kelsey and Worthy,
Here we
on the
go.
first
It
play
all
of the
makes
game.
sense. Yep.
Yeah, and that was just such a bad play by both Kelsey, and I feel for him, but also Worthy. And Worthy's looking for the ball, but you're running across the field, dude. You got to at least glance ahead of you and not run full steam into the 250-pounder.
Who's setting up? Who, by the way, tell me if I'm wrong, Seth. My understanding is we ain't talked about this, and you can either agree with me or disagree with me, Josh. I believe they wanted man coverage. You got man coverage. I believe Xavier Worthy is the fastest guy on the field. So therefore, the play call is for him, primarily for him. Kelsey.
Yeah, that's a mesh look that's designed to get.
Yes.
And mesh is just, we've talked about this before. It's just crossers. That's all it is. Sometimes at 2 levels, sometimes just at 1 level. And Andy Reid loves to run it as man coverage beaters, especially for a guy that can run away from guys like Xavier Worthy. Personally, I wish Andy would. Well, you know what? Well, we can get to that another time. But that's where the spacing matters, and Kelsey just let Derwin James keep him 2 yards shallow of where he should have been, and then he wasn't looking. And that terrible play by Kelsey, and he got his teammate hurt. Like that's, and I'm sure he feels awful about it. Like he knows that. But you can't let yourself get jammed into oblivion there by a guy you outweigh by 35 pounds and then not be looking and have Worthy run into you. Meanwhile, Worthy, you got to have a little more field awareness than that.
Yeah.
And so it was just super unfortunate. Yep. It sounds like they're lucky he wasn't hurt worse. But I mean, as soon as he went down, I was like, oh crap, like that dude. And it seemed to just suck the life out of them for a little bit.
Yep. Can confirm.
Well, there you go. Other than that, defense is pretty good. Let's take another timeout, and we'll come back and get to the offensive side.
What's good, everyone? It is KCSN betting analyst Benny Heiss. You know, something hit me as I was driving to the Missouri side, ironically, for something not available on the Kansas side. I cross over. I just can't get over how long sports fans in the state of Missouri have been waiting. It feels like forever. Good news is you don't have to wait much longer because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is finally coming to the Show Me State. And if you're thinking, yeah, but I got to wait on the sidelines until December 1st, it's not true. You can sign up right now. And when we go live, new Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets just for placing a $5 bet. $5. That's not even as much as a pumpkin spice latte that's going to take over. So it's not some ragtag sports, but this is DraftKings. You got live in-game betting. So if your team starts hot, you could jump in mid-play. There's lightning fast payouts. None of that wait 3 days for your money nonsense. And you've got more ways to get in on the action. There's no better way to start. It's all from your phone. When we go live, you'll be betting with a sportsbook trusted by millions, safe, secure, fast withdrawals, everything you want. Well, except maybe a guarantee that your team will cover the spread, but that part's still on you. So here's the move. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use code KCSN, and when we go live December 1st, that $5 bet turns into $300 in bonus bets. That is code KCSN in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 plus and physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after they are issued. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Seth Keysor, Patrick Mahomes, your thoughts?
I have many of them. Good football player.
Thank you. Nate Taylor, Patrick Mahomes, your thoughts? No, Seth, take a rip at it. You've already done your film review for this week. Mahomes was remarkable in the second half, halfway through the second quarter. He can cut the line off wherever. Once he decided to lower his shoulder into a defender to try to fire up the offense, it was playoff Mahomes stuff, honestly. It was on my shoulder, I'll do it myself kind of stuff, which, in fairness, I didn't want to see in week one. But if we did see it, I would have preferred it with a win. What did you see from Mahomes?
Mahomes played really, really well. Statistically, it shows up a little, not a ton. But he overall, if I were to criticize, he had a couple snaps where he took off earlier than he should have, but those weren't necessarily classic happy feet. And go to the Chief North newsletter. The vast majority of the week one film review is unlocked, where I explain the methodology and what I'm looking for, because I'm looking for things that actually isolate quarterback play. We've talked about this a million times. Happy feet snaps, he had 2 of them. Last year against the Chargers, he had like 7 or something like that. Like it was a pretty high amount because they did a good job with some of the stuff we talked about with games last week before, some of the games they play up front. He trusted his blockers, and by and large, it paid off. He had 2 plays that I chart as happy feet snaps, but they were more snaps. He took off earlier than he needed to. He could have utilized smaller movement. He actually could have had Hollywood Brown down the field for one of them, which, by the way, Hollywood Brown played a lot better down the stretch. Really good news to see, something we can come back to.
Yep.
He threw the ball, by and large, tremendously accurately. He missed a couple of throws down the field to Thornton, one that wasn't that close. one that was close enough that I'm like,
So-
maybe Thornton could have
so
taken a little better angle.
close.
But I do like the fact that with those 3 deep shots to Thornton, first one missed pretty wide. The second one barely missed. And I believe that's the one he got smoked on. He stood in there and took a hit. He Kirk Cousins it. He was like, I'm going to take a shot, throw it down the field. And then the third one was just a dart. I mean, just a gorgeous throw.
It made it seem like I think the first play where he throws it deep, where he misses Thornton towards the end zone. I turned to, I think it was Jesse. I think I turned to either Jesse or Steve Walls, and I was like, I wonder if that play was for Worthy, and that's why it's so. It didn't look like a certain area, and Thornton didn't run to that certain area. The second one, you could clearly tell. Hey, we talked about it on the bench on the sideline. We're gonna do. We're gonna try this next time, and they were. I mean, this close to your point, Seth. So it took him a little bit of time to get the right rhythm and the right pacing down on some of that accuracy with Thornton, where it's like when I rewatched the game, I was like, that first one has to be for Worthy, because it's just it looked like so many of those deep shots from the past 2 years where it's like, are you running to the right spot? Is it based on the coverage? Is it what the quarterback's thinking from a distance and speed, geography, essentially? But yeah, that's just my thought. But I think once he got dialed in, ooh, buddy.
It looked really good. And again, the offense, I think someone had said like Mahomes averaged like 0.8 EPA per play, expect points average per play per drop back in the second half. Like they went touchdown, field goal in the second half. And really, by the way, people are killing Hollywood Brown for that unbelievable 4th and 7 play. That was one of the best plays you will ever see a quarterback make, ever. And actually, after that play, I thought to myself, my first thought was, and they're going to win it too. And I'm going to be so annoyed. And so with Brown, by the way, he had to stop and come back to it, which is fine. I mean, the ball's 50 yards in the air while he's getting hit, while he's sprinting the other way. I mean, that's whatever. The fact that he got it there is unbelievable. And then he turned to run. And the reason people are like, well, he didn't even keep trying to run. He realized that the defender had been sprinting already for multiple yards. So he knew he wasn't going to outrun him. So I think he was hoping that he could maybe cut back and get him there. And it didn't work. So I'm not killing Hollywood Brown for that. Good for him for keeping the play alive. Mahomes, one thing I chart is created plays and created yards. So that's number of plays where he created something kind of out of nothing, whether it's because he was flushed out of the pocket, the play was well covered, etc. So part of it, you can almost view it as like an aggressiveness index. Last year, and we talked about this when we talked about the Mahomes film review summary, the created plays and yards went down a little as the year went along, as they became more and more conservative on offense, more and more you don't have multi-read plays, you are just getting the ball out and going. I charted 11 plays and 137 yards created. Now, before anyone says, that just goes to show nothing was working, Andy Reid, Matt Nagy stink, there was some stuff that was working there too, especially in the second half. Mahomes just took any time something went wrong and made it right. And then obviously, almost 50-yard play really bumps that number up. He was really straddling that line between operating the offense really efficiently when stuff was there and creating when it wasn't. It was really, really good. That's one reason I'm so frustrated with the loss, is because he played what would have been a good game for him in 2022, let alone 23 or 24. He played a good game, and they almost never lose when he plays well. It's been a while since it was a game where the offense really did come to life. If you really should go back and watch those second half snaps if you're really worried about the offense. The offense came to life, and there were things to like. Hollywood Brown really looked a lot more comfortable in the offense. Now he's not. You can see where they missed Rashee Rice with like 5 of those Brown catches where he did fine. He gained 5 yards, whatever,
caught the ball,
6 yards,
right?
Caught the ball, went forward. But those are plays where Xavier Worthy gains 7 or 8, where Rashee Rice gains 8 or 9. You want to hear another piece of good news? Juju Smith-Schuster looks better than he looked last year. That's great. So there's things they can build on. Mahomes played really, really well. The thing that stops it from being like an elite game for him is he had 5 inaccurate passes from the pocket. 2 of them were on deep shots where Tyquan Thornton's opening up, man. Like, and by the way, he's Tyquan Thornton. I'm going to write about him hopefully tonight, and then it'll be up tomorrow morning. Ideally, we'll see. People keep being in custody every morning. I don't know what their problem is. Don't break the law in the middle of the night, people. Anyway, it's like they're not even thinking about me, Josh.
Nope.
Be that as it may, Thornton, it wasn't just those, the one deep shot that he caught, and then the two that better throws from Mahomes, and the one was a barely missed deep shot is still a solid throw. Those are just hard to hit.
Right.
Thornton could have had that 3 catch for 110-yard stat line. He also had a couple other plays. There was one late where they went to Brown over the middle of the field because Brown was the first read and he was open, where Thornton opened up down the field again, and you could see one of the Chargers safeties going just freaking out. And he had another one where he opened up. There were multiple times he took the top off the defense and got behind them. That's encouraging. That's wildly encouraging. And seeing how well Mahomes played was encouraging. And, of course, I got to give a shout-out. Thank you, Rachel, for noting the comments. Mahomes was horizontal when
Insane.
he passed the ball once.
I was about to say it.
I was convinced they weren't going to lose the game at that point.
Right.
But the receivers actually did better
in the second half.
The second half than what I had thought. It still isn't. They don't have man separators outside of Brown. So they're going to have to figure some stuff out there as Worthy gets better. But it was encouraging rewatching the offense. Rewatching the defense, don't do that. Rewatching the offense, it was encouraging, and Mahomes played well.
So, 2 things, Josh. Yes, he was parallel to the ground yet again with Chargers all surrounding him. This is slightly different than hauling on my, turf toe ass to try to get the ball to Damian Williams or Darrell Williams, in the Super Bowl on a 4th down. Got to get the ball out of my hands. This is 3rd down. He's dead. Derwin James has his dead to rights. I think it's one of the few times, Seth, where it's like, okay, I think I got to protect it. We should be protected. All right, if Derwin James comes, that's the only way they can get us. And hike, holy smokes, they got us.
It was a really cool look, by the way.
Yes.
They dropped. It was a simulated pressure because they only sent 4. They dropped 3 guys that were on the interior. They had 5 guys on the line. They dropped 3 on the interior into coverage and then sent guys from other place. It's a really sick rep by the defense. It was really cool. Really cool play call.
Yes.
I guarantee you Minter afterwards threw his cap because it's like, are you kidding? Because they got him. You almost never beat Mahomes straight up with blitzes like that, and they got him. Awesome look. That was so cool. Like that was like a I love football moment. And then he went horizontal and lifted over his head. That was ridiculous. One of the funniest things I've seen.
Because, again, I want people to rewatch the game just for this part. He goes through the protection. He looks and he goes, okay, we're good. Okay, I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. All right, he's not coming. He says, and he's literally unblocked. He's dead to rights. The play is over. And Derwin James is like, okay, I got him. You could see this in Derwin James' mind. I'm a really good player. I got him. Just form tackle. Don't launch yourself. Nope. We're not going to give a roughing the passer penalty. I'm just going to gently put this man on. What the hell is he doing? You can just see that he's like, what the freak is happening? They convert the play. They score a touchdown, and it's happening again, kids. It's happening. The second play, Josh, is this man was on such a heater, right? To where, hey, you know what? I'm not going out of bounds until I put this man on his keister. A few plays later, he messes up the RPO action. And you know who has him dead to rights? Khalil Mack. Gonna be in the Hall of Fame one day. He's like, you know what I'll do? I'll just go around him. I'll just pump fake, even though I can't throw the ball because my offensive linemen have already fired off the ball.
Right.
And Khalil Mack's like, wait, you kept it? You not going to throw. Is he? And you can tell Khalil Mack's like, is he running right by me with the football? Yep. Yes, I am. Right to the pylon. Incredible performance from this man.
What's the plan for getting him a little more help? You mentioned that Tyquan. I hit the wrong button. Tyquan Thornton was able to do what he needed to do to keep kind of making us all a little bit more of a believer there. Looked pretty good for Juju. Just right now we're in like Eric Berry week-to-week territory on Xavier Worthy. He's not on IR right now, which means that the expectation
he's-
internally would not be 4 or more weeks, I guess. I'm gonna also totally different injury, totally different deal. I'm on a little bit of Hollywood Brown watch. I'm just like, well, we'll see if it heals, and if it heals, he'll be back in 4 weeks, and if it doesn't, he'll need surgery, and then worst case scenario.
The player wants to play. He's probably not gonna play Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. The medical staff and the athletic training staff will give him time. You might go through more tests, more assessments, but it really is a wait and see situation. So I know Adam Schefter yesterday, and I retweeted it immediately, said, look, he probably not going to play Sunday. That's probably what's going to happen. He probably not going to play Sunday. But who knows? In 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe. There's a legitimate maybe to that. As we turn it to week 2 with the receiving room, Juju Smith-Schuster's got to be a big part of it. They got to use Kelsey differently than they did in the Super Bowl for obvious reasons.
Why? What happened?
Let's not have Kelsey try to block anyone on the edge this time around, guys. Let's not do that. I know Seth's got it figured out, but yeah, you got Hollywood. I don't know if Jalen Royals is going to play. That's kind of we'll see how it goes throughout the practice week. But hey, if he's available, get him some, first day on the job rookie experience. But it's really going to come down to a Juju, Hollywood Brown, I think Travis Kelce, and Noah Gray. I know some people have asked about Noah Gray. He really wasn't a part of the game plan on Friday, for all we could tell, but had a good training.
I don't know if
Good
Bob
football
Tonyan
player.
took an offensive snap. In terms of, we talked a lot, Seth, about the go heavy,
Yep.
do some play action. They didn't do that with
didn't
Xavier
do
Worthy
that.
on the field. They didn't do that. All right, what?
Correct.
Where are we at now, Seth? Is that you want to keep shaking your fist at the cloud and ask Andy Reid for some under center, some play action, and some heavy, or are they going to bring back McCole Hardman and you're going to like it?
I especially with Worthy being gone, I don't understand why you're not trying more 12, more 13 personnel, more heavy play action stuff. That's tough against a Fangio defense with a good front, but it's less tough than drop back. And if you're gonna spread the field, then spread the field, run empty, and then force them to play too high because you've got speed on the boundary. These are things that they should do. I don't know what they're gonna do. I do think Thornton, they need to give him a shot to try to open some things up. I think from what I saw, I think Adoree Jackson's going to get the start at cornerback too. There's opportunities there. And so that's going to be a really key thing. And it's really a bummer with, again, where we're at with an injury and with a suspension, to where it's like, well, we really need Tyquan Thornton to be a big part. But it's where they're at. I would be really interested to see the version of Hollywood Brown we saw in the second half of the game, but I want to see them running him some more intermediate stuff, because he opened up a few times like that. And so there's options here, and there are places that Eagles defense can be exposed that they just flat out couldn't do because they didn't have any sort of time in the Super Bowl. So it's going to be a good litmus test, but I'm interested in seeing what they break out, because once again, for the second year in a row, the plan that they wanted to have coming in is not the plan that they can have anymore. And that's really unfortunate. But man, staring at 0-2 would be tough. And it could very easily happen. It wouldn't shock me if they won or lost the game. That's the thing. Like, some of the stuff I saw in the second half, I'm like, interesting. But I also think that Eagles offense could, if the defense doesn't play better, could hang 40 on them without any sort of problem.
All right, I'm going to do some quick schedule math. I'm going to ask you guys one big question, then I'm going to let Nate look back at Brazil one more time, and that'll ride us out of here. But I mentioned this on Everything Else, the new show on KCSN, available wherever you get your podcasts or live on the KCSN YouTube channel, Mondays and Fridays, noon to 1. But I went through and I did this, and this isn't a prediction necessarily, but just follow me down this hypothetical, okay? You lose to the Chargers, lose to the Eagles, beat the Giants, lose to the Ravens. Beat the Jags, beat the Lions. You've got Rasheed Rice coming back after that. Beat the Raiders, lose to Washington. I'm splitting the NFC games there, Detroit and Washington. Lose to Buffalo, in Buffalo. Right now, the Kansas City Chiefs in this world are 4-5. they are below 500 more than halfway through the season. Okay, then here's what I think could very well happen from that point. Beat the Broncos, beat the Colts, beat the Cowboys, beat the Texans, beat the Chargers, beat the Titans, beat the Broncos, beat the Raiders. That 4-5 football team is now 12-5. That 12-5 football team is almost certainly not the 1 seed in the AFC, certainly not with losses to the Chargers, the Bills, and the Ravens in this pathway.
The Bills would have the easiest path based on this simulation, yes.
Right, because the Bills have already gotten one over the Ravens. So they're probably not the 1 seed, but I think 12-5, if the only AFC West game you lose is against the Chargers, which is no guarantee, but that's the only one you lose, it's probably enough for the AFC West, and now you have a theoretically healthy, full-strength Chiefs team going into the playoffs, 12-5, and the rest of the league is just looking around like, well, who do I not want to see in the first or second round of the playoffs? I would believe it would probably be Patrick Mahomes and company. So I am sort of bolstering you for the possibility that this team could be below 500 and the most dangerous team in the playoffs. Here's the question I want to ask both of you for yes and no answer, and I want all the voyeurs to ask themselves this if they haven't already. I'm giving you a $100 bet chip to use with our friends at DraftKings. You got to put this $100 right down. I'm telling you straight up and down. Are the Kansas City Chiefs playing in this year's AFC Championship game?
With a 12-5 record.
No, just from today. Just blind today. Oh. I'm making you decide right now, are the 2025 Kansas City Chiefs playing in the AFC Championship game in January 2026?
Yes.
Probably. Yes, probably. If you give me healthy Mahomes, yes.
Nuts?
Yeah.
Isn't
of course
that
it is.
Buck wild?
Yes.
You get the healthy 2/3 of the season from Rashee Rice, and wherever Worthy ends up changes things. A lot of things change things. But if Patrick Mahomes is out there, Chris Jones and Rashee Rice are out there.
Right.
If they make the playoffs,
Travis Kelce in playoffs.
Guys, I don't think they're going to Houston and beating the Texans. Who am I an idiot? Like that.
No.
So what an amazing place to be. None of that, by the way, none of that should be used as a counterpoint to like the pass rush being a nightmare on Friday. Mm-hmm. But they could be below 500, and I'm telling you, I'm prepared for it if necessary. That they could be 4-5, and I'll be saying, and I'm going to pick them to be in the AFC Championship game. Wait and see. So they're not. They are certainly not bulletproof, but I find that fascinating.
Right. If you give me the main characters in the coaching that we've seen over the course of a season, for multiple seasons now, I could say yes, pretty definitively almost, which again is crazy to say. And one reason I would say that is with this scenario that you've presented us, Josh, with us simulating the Madden 2025 season, that means the last game ever to be played at Buffalo Stadium will be the AFC Championship game with the Super Bowl on the line. That's, if I'm guaranteeing that, hey, 12-5 doesn't get it done with the 1 seed, I'm assuming Josh Allen will get his fellas to the AFC Championship game, and then we will have yet again another showdown. I don't know. They call it Highmark Stadium. I always want to call it just Ralph Wilson Stadium, but that will be the last game ever played at Highmark Stadium.
And Mahomes might just take a pillar out with him if it goes the way it goes every other time in the playoffs. I just think it's fascinating and an interesting way to set it up. Seth, I'm going to give you one last touch of the football here. You can go wherever you want with it. Earlier you said Andy Reid needs to do something dramatic. He needs to make a move. Give me your last take on your last touch of the day here.
If I were Andy Reid this week, and I do not say this lightly, and I haven't advocated for it before. If I were Andy Reid this week, I'd have Moore and Taylor at the very least split first team snaps in practice, and I would give Moore a legitimate shot to take the week. Taylor played not great in the Super Bowl. He's not a good matchup for the pass rush style that the Eagles have, and 2 false starts. And Simmons had 2 false starts, but Simmons played better. And Simmons is
his first NFL game.
Yeah, his first NFL game, and his false starts. And look, did Taylor get picked on? I mean, anyone who watched a bunch of games on Sunday saw a bunch of tackles getting that early jump. But the thing is, Taylor's false starts this game, they weren't that early jump. That was not it.
It wasn't an illegal formation.
Yeah, and he got 2 holding calls that were both because he lost. One was kind of soft, but still kind of egregious. You can't, for me, we're in year 3 of this just being constant penalty issues. And the difference is this year they've got a guy who played quite well at right tackle, who Mahomes seemed comfortable with, who seemed to, in some ways, maybe be a more sensible tandem partner with Trey Smith for a variety of reasons that I'll touch on if they actually make the move. Honestly, if you're Andy Reid and you're upset about how people came out, and my understanding is Juwan Taylor's really well liked in the locker room, a good team guy. But at the end of the day, everyone gets this. And that, to me, that's something I would at least consider doing, because it's one of the things you can control. It's one of the things that you actually have a really competent guy just sitting there. That's something that I would really seriously consider doing, because I think energy was a problem. Sometimes there's nothing wrong, even with grown men, and these are grown men. They'll play hard regardless. They know what they're doing.
Yep.
They're professionals. But I will tell you, seeing someone get benched for those kinds of mistakes, that'd be a different experience for the Chiefs, other than, last year we saw Kingsley Suamadiia get yanked. We saw, Morris get yanked. I guess I would just say it's at least worth considering, because you've got a much better option here than you did when you pulled those guys last year. It's just something I'd consider.
I like it. Spicy. Okay. How do we get out of here?
Yeah, long trip there. You got it, Nate.
Yeah.
You take us back to Brazil.
Woo!
I don't want your jet lag, but I'm here for whatever else you got for us.
Yeah, no one needs my jet lag. No one needs my legs. It was 11 hours on the flight, guys, from Sao Paulo to Atlanta, and then from Atlanta to Kansas City. Interesting fact, rode the entire way with Felix Enrique Uzama's parents. Lovely people. Love them to death. It was really cool to get to know them. Now, Nate Dogg says, tell us about the halftime show. Extravagant, my friend. Okay, extravagant. With everything that happened, the good, the bad, the loss, it is pretty clear to me that the NFL, A, knows what it's doing, and B, I know I try to be objective, and I try to be willing to let everybody have their vantage points, because I think they're all important. Communication, diversity of thought, really key in life. But guys, I don't ask for many call to actions, but we got to stop as Americans. We got to stop. We got to stop when it comes to why are they playing international games? Why are they outsourcing the game and the sport I love perhaps the most to another country, to another region, to another hemisphere? Why are they doing that? They can't, the product goes down. Is the field going to be good? Is the guys are not going to be, healthy or motivated. Yada, yada, yada. Like, we just got to stop as Americans, because not only does traveling the world open up your mind, and that in of itself is a good thing, I cannot express enough to you people how much Brazilians and South Americans love football. They love football. And the coolest thing was in real time seeing Mahomes be parallel to the ground, and then Brazilian fans going, what in the world was that? They got a first down? What? And you can feel it because you're not closed off in the press box. We were in basically the 900 section of the stadium, You get to hear everything. You get to see everything. You get to smell everything. And we just got to stop. We got to stop, guys. I know they do it for money. I know they do it to grow the brand for global domination. They can have it, man, because people like football. They really, really, really like it. And you're not going to be on the right side of this because, as we all know, the league is probably going to go to 18 games. As we all know, the league's probably going to go to 2 bye weeks. As we all know, the league's probably going to make every team be required to play 1 international game. And there's a reason for that, guys. Because people love football the way you do in Sao Paulo. There were journalists from Argentina, from Peru, from all over South America that I got to meet, that I got to touch and hug it out. It was a great experience. These are people asking legitimate football questions in not their primary language to Andy Reid as to why y'all suck tonight, yo. Hey, yo, I'm not even in my primary language. Why y'all stink? Y'all said y'all was good. Like, it's an incredible experience. I know not everybody can go. I get it. Yeah, I got to touch them. They touched me, man. That's the way of life. You know what I'm talking about. Get out of here.
You're a writer, Nate. Use your words.
Okay, fine. We had a great connection. All right.
We all knew what you meant. It's just we also heard what you said. I mean, that's the double-edged sword here.
Now look, I know the Chiefs have already said they want to go to Ireland. Let me tell you guys, the league already knows that. The league already knows.
Yeah.
So this is not gonna stop. And I think we as Americans have to be comfortable. Now I know it's a little bit tricky when it's like, hey man, are we gonna have another American be the MVP of the NBA? Now that I get, okay? If that starts happening in the NFL, then we got problems, okay? But in terms of, like, we cannot lose the gold medal to these people. We cannot, okay? We ain't got there yet, right? Flag football ain't even going to take off, but it's going to take off, y'all, because everybody loves this game, and that's okay. That's a beautiful thing. Stop it with the bull bleep of, why do they play these internationally? Is the turf okay? Turf was fine, guys. The turf was good. Roger Goodell said, oh, we going to make it good this year, boys. And they made it good. Like, so they're smart. They understand it. But, man, being in Brazil was awesome. And I just want people to understand that, like, you may think that some German doesn't get all the intricacies of football. You may think some Brazilian don't understand who the tight end 2 is for the Kansas City Chiefs, okay? But they know when Justin Herbert breaks contain, everyone in the stadium went, oh, my God, they're actually going to beat the Chiefs. Like, because they love the sport. So it is the way of the world. The world is getting smaller. And I just wanted to make that clear. Like, I don't know if you can get that all the time other than to go there and me try to describe these things to you. But, man, they love it. They love football. They love American football. It's a really powerful thing about life where you can exchange things, culture, sports, life, food.
Touching.
It's a beautiful thing, man. And they care about it just as much as you do. Like, those Chiefs fans in Brazil have watched their team win the Super Bowl 3 out of the last 5 years. That's their team, okay? And they got to finally see their team in person because they love it. And by the way, they just wanted to touch me, man. They're like, dog, you real? And I was like, yeah, baby, I'm real. Come give me a hug. This is awesome. Football for everyone.